Hey moms, it's Katie here with another Live and Learn. And today's Live and Learn is pretty exciting because we have our co-founder of MOMnation here with us, Cheri.
Hi, moms.
And so Cheri, tell us a little bit. So we know that you are this awesome booming business mama and you do so much work with MOMnation. You help out so many people, but you have kind of another life. So why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. So I actually work for Grand Canyon University. Some of our Arizona moms might know or have heard about it. If you ever drive down in Phoenix on the freeway, you'll probably see purple for miles and miles. That's us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a military education counselor. I've actually been in higher education working as an education counselor for over 10 years. So lots of experience there, and I typically work with military families. I know we have a lot of military families spread out in all of our states. But I've even had the pleasure of helping some of our other moms that maybe don't have a military connection. So I love just providing resources and helping someone gather the information that they need to really make the right decision for their family.
Yeah, and I know firsthand that you are very, very good at that. And I know several mamas that you have helped. So that's definitely true. So tell us a little bit about Grand Canyon U. That's all online, or is there a campus, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so we actually have over 25,000 students attending campus. And then we have over 75,000 attending online. So we do have both. We are definitely very much a brick and mortar there in Phoenix, in West Phoenix, constantly growing. If you guys haven't been by the campus recently, I remember in 2010 when I moved to Arizona and I met Katie. It was like, whatchamacallit, a couple of like connexes and a mobile home on some grass, like that's all it was in 2010. And it's huge and it's so beautiful. We have our own hotel. We have tons of dorms. And, I'm excited. I can't wait to send my oldest, well, all of my kids, but my oldest is only a couple of years off. She's a freshman. So right around the corner, I'll be sending her there. It's a really amazing school. It is a private Christian university. Thankfully, they've just gotten back to their roots of nonprofit. So I just really love their mission, what they stand for, and how they handle business.
But so they have that whole online, you said 75,000 students are enrolled with the online or the online campus, I guess that you would call it.
Yeah.
So that means you don't necessarily have to be based in Arizona in order to hook up with that. So it can be all across the country.
Yeah, I actually, since I work with military, I have students that are in different countries even. So
Oh, wow.
that's the nice thing about online. There's so much flexibility, whether you move, maybe you start in Arizona, but you move over here. You're not having to start and stop and then transfer to a different school, which many of you might know ends up losing credits. So that's a huge benefit of the online, especially for our moms, right? Like I have 3 kids, so I 100% understand what that looks like. The only reason that I was able to get my bachelor's is because I ended up switching to online. And then I pursued my master's as a single mom. Well, I think I was going through a divorce in the beginning, but as a single mom, I was able to finish and graduate with my master's. And there's no way working a full-time job, taking care of kids, that I would have been able to do that at the campus, attending 3-4 classes at a time for a semester. Like that's just crazy to me. I don't understand how anybody does that now when we have such flexible online programs. So being able to take one class at a time, be considered a full-time student, and those classes are typically anywhere from 7 to 8 weeks, but 8 weeks is a lot better, especially if you think about like those subjects. I hate math. So if I have to take a 16-week math class or an 8-week math class, I'm definitely picking the 8-week. Like I want to get in and out and be done.
Yeah, for sure. So somebody can just connect with you. I actually put your web address in the caption in the show notes here. So somebody connects with you, then, you kind of talk through their needs and wants and, hey, how much time do you have available? And then I'm assuming that you have some suggestions for online programs from there. Is that about how that works?
Yeah, so I actually handle everything from a person that doesn't know what they want to be when they grow up. That's so common. And I think people just feel like, hey, I should have it figured out by now. Like, I have kids, I'm an adult. No, it's okay. Many people don't, and that's what I'm here for, kind of using an expert with resources, with advice. When I talk to somebody, I really do a lot of digging in the beginning. Like, what do you want? What are your end goals? What time constraints do you have? Things like that. That will help me make suggestions. But then I don't stop there. Like, hey, here's this good program. I think this would be a good fit for you. I take it one step further. Let's check out who's hiring, how many jobs are opening in the next couple of years, because if it takes you a couple of years to finish a bachelor's, right? Maybe you're just starting. You don't want to get a degree in basket weaving and then find out in 4 years, basket weaving, there's no jobs. So I
Right.
really go into all of that up front. Let's look at salary ranges. Let's look at benefits. What are those things look like first? So I think that's really important and helpful for people that are on the fence or maybe just don't know. You can't really make a quality decision without having all of the information. And I would much rather spend a bunch of time in the beginning and really kind of diving deep into, is this a good program? Is this a good fit for you and your family before you sign up?
Right, right. I love that because how many people do I know that are halfway through college and they're like, I don't really know if this is what I want to do, to be honest. Like, I don't think this is going to pay what I want, or, all of those things. Those are factors that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of before they get into it. Is that what you find?
Yeah. So, and I see that with a lot of students that are coming in as transfer students, maybe they have credits from somewhere else, and they're like, hey, I was pursuing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know why I wanted to pursue that or why I did that, but I have all these credits. Will they transfer? Well, every time you transfer schools, you risk losing credits. And it's not that the new school doesn't want to transfer them, but there's a few things that factor into that, right? For a school to put their name on your diploma and to give you a degree from them, you have to complete a specific amount of credits with them, right? Like, I'm not going to sign off a qualification for you in real estate if I don't know that you know the information because you didn't learn it from me. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So there's that. And then the other thing is, if you're changing degree programs, let's say you did a bunch of business classes, but now you want to be a teacher. Those business classes don't apply to being a teacher in most cases. So it's not that the school's just money hungry, right? There's a lot of factors that go into play with that. And as an education counselor, a lot of times there's alternative paths. And students don't typically know about that. I know before I was working in higher ed, there's a lot of things that I didn't know. And what you don't know will 100% hurt you when you're investing in your future, because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
either waste time or you're going to waste money. And nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, no, not either of those things. So transferring credits is something that you take on a case by case basis, pretty much.
Yeah. So what I look at is I always ask my students to send me your unofficial transcripts from every school too. Because a lot of people will say, hey, I went to MCC and Gilbert Community College, but MCC transferred and took my Gilbert Community College credits. So can you just look at my MCC credits? No, because let's say that MCC didn't take all of Gilbert Community College credits, right? Well, then I'm not going to see those, number one. Number two is, when a school transfers, they don't necessarily show the grades. So we need all of that information to give you an accurate projection. Otherwise, it's skewed. So for me to give you good numbers, I want to see each transcript alone. The good thing is that they don't need to be official, though. So no, you don't need to pay for anything official. They can be unofficial copies. And then within 24 hours, I can tell you, hey, based on all of these transcripts you gave me, you're going to transfer in X amount of credits per each degree, because it's also dependent on what degree you want.
Got you. Makes sense. Kind of.
Yeah.
And that's why we need Cheri.
Yeah, like there's just so much that goes into it, and that's why it's really important to work with an expert one-on-one. But also, you know, let's say you want to be a teacher and you were doing business classes before. Well, we do a transcript evaluation for an education program. Education leads to licensure. There's Department of Education requirements. So transferring into an education program is harder because they have Department of Arizona Ed for Arizona requires that they take Arizona history and this and that. So they have less room to transfer in credits. There's less elective space. They have to have all of these boxes checked to become a licensed teacher. So, you know, maybe you're not happy about what the transfer comes out as. Well, okay, let's talk about alternative paths. In a lot of cases, there's an alternative path or a different way, plan B, that you can go about it. And again, going back to that effective decision making, you can't do that unless you know all of the information and all of the routes.
Makes a lot of sense. So what about, you know, the $1 million question? What about paying for this? Let's talk about cost. And
that is my favorite thing. Yes. So my biggest thing is that I was in the military. So I got out of the military. I was a single mom, and you know, yeah, I had education benefits that were going to pay for school. But I was a single mom working 2 jobs, going to school full time. No one had told me about a specific grant. It's the Pell Grant. No one had told me about different resources that I could have utilized that would have changed my life at that point. You know, I was living in a garage apartment or an apartment above a garage with another girl, and me and my baby were just in this room. Like, it could have changed my life. So I'm big on making sure people know at least what's out there, different resources on how to find scholarships and grants. I took out student loans too. So I'm very big about making sure someone knows and understands what a student loan is, that it never goes away, no matter what. The only thing that'll ever make a student loan go away is if you die. You know, so those can haunt you. And it's really important to understand that up front. And it's also really important why I go into different funding options first. GCU is a really big push. They push responsible borrowing. So if you have to resort to loans, you know, we want that to be a last resort, but also for you to understand taking the smallest amount of loan to cover actually what you need to pay for classes. A lot of people will just take out the max loan because they want that excess check. And then guess what? Maybe you bought a TV, maybe you bought this, whatever. In a couple of years, you're not going to remember any of the things that you bought with it. And you're going to wonder why you have $40,000, $50,000 in student loans. You know, and you want to also think about, hey, if I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to be making $30,000, but I have this $50,000, $60,000 student loan, then that takes my salary down even less. Mm-hmm. All of those things are vital to think about. And I think working in higher education for so long, hearing horror stories from my students and seeing how other schools work, a lot of people aren't talking about those things up front. You know, so a student might be surprised later on or might be caught off guard because it wasn't actually discussed in the beginning to a point where you're thinking about that. Even just little things like making payments on your student loans while you're a student. A portion of those loans, the interest is paid for by the government. So there's 2 different parts of a loan when you take it out as a student: subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Mm-hmm. The subsidized portion is not accruing interest while you're full-time in school. So if you think about it, if you're not required to make payments, but in school you are making payments, because we have this conversation up front and I told you it's a good idea, it's more responsible. So mm-hmm. You're making these payments that are cutting down the principal loan much quicker than if you wait until 6 months after you graduate and now they're saying, hey, you need to start making payments. Well, now when you're making payments, it's not going as far towards the principal, if that makes sense.
Because you're
now
accruing interest and you're paying interest.
Yeah, and you're accruing interest on a higher dollar amount now because you're not in school, so you're not getting that subsidized portion paid for by the government.
That is giant. And I love responsible borrowing. And I love that that's something that GCU pushes, because I can tell you, I can think of probably 10 clients off the top of my head that, you know, have great jobs, that did go to school, 4-year college, whatever, but their student loan debt is so far, it's just so out of hand that they are stuck renting forever and ever and ever. Like, imagine having an amazing job and having all this great education, but you can't even buy a house because your student loan debt is too high.
Right. And you're paying into somebody else's equity, or, you know, that your debt to income ratio is so far off because of that. Like,
yeah, it actually affects other investments in your future if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome though. Tell me a little bit about the military stuff. And are there any, you know, special programs for military peeps?
Yeah. So military consists of, and I think that this is something that I want to get across too. When people hear military, especially spouses, our application even says, like, are you military affiliated? And so a lot of people will say no because they're like, oh no, I'm not, but my husband was in, or my spouse was in. Yes, that means you are military affiliated. So in some way, the military is within your family. We have military discounts, and so many spouses that think, hey, it's just my spouse. He's either in, or he was in, or she was in, is in. Even if it's reserve, guard, it doesn't matter, guys. You are military. And so for our kids, right, like let's say a dependent, if you're not sure, always check yes. We, as military education counselors, will ask you specific questions. So there are some cases where a child might not qualify, but you never know. There's so many benefits and resources out there that people don't know about, you know, and there are time limits on it. So if you don't know about it at the right time, you could lose out. You could end up getting student loans or paying for something that you didn't have to. When in doubt, always say yes, and let us experts walk you through and figure out, hey, is this something that we can utilize to help you get scholarships, grants, education funding, things like that.
Awesome. And then there was one more thing that we had on our list of topics today, and that's Clep tests. I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so anyone that has either never started college or maybe doesn't have their bachelor's yet, wants to pursue their bachelor's, think back to those general education courses, things that we took in high school, even like math, English, science, all of those things, like social studies, psychology, all of those general education courses we all had to take, our kids are taking. All of those can essentially be tested out of when you're pursuing a degree. So yeah, you can take those courses with us, but if you want to save time and money, I always talk about Clep test up front. Especially if there's a subject that you're just like, hey, I'm a rock star at math. This isn't regarding me, obviously. But if you just feel comfortable, like my wife, math is super easy for her. When our daughter needs help, I say, go see Vinny. So not me, but even things like that. Or if you speak another language, oh my gosh, if you speak another language fluently, let's talk. There's so many options for you to get college credit just for that. And I'm not talking like 1 or 2 college credits. The Clep test can get you 3 to 6 credits depending on how advanced you are. But then there's another test. It's called the Berlitz exam, where it's a written and verbal test. And depending on how fluent you are, you can get up to 18 credits just for that, for speaking another language. 18. 24 is 1 year of college. So 18 is like insane just for a test, you know?
That is insane, actually. Like I told you, I had no idea what that was, and my mind just got blown, and I wish that there was a time when I was really good at French, and maybe I should take it back up. I could probably learn it again pretty quickly. I mean, I know some words, but not like I
Right.
used to.
Same. I don't
That
remember
is
a lot, but.
right. That's super fascinating though, Cher. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you just to talk through these options even, how would they do that?
So you can click on the link that is above. That is my landing page. It'll ask you for your contact information, and then I'll get an email. Or if you want to connect with me on Facebook, that's fine. We will have to take it off, so I'll just give you my work number. Or you can call or text me. My work number is 806-567-1799. And for our military families, I know we do have a lot. So something else about active duty or veterans, in addition to their VA benefits and tuition assistance, those military training hours that they have, like A school, AIT, basic training even, those build college credits. And so just being in the military, even if you've never gone to college, you have college credits that will transfer. And not only is that amazing to help jumpstart your educational goals, but that helps them with promotion. And promotion means money, so that impacts military families drastically. So if anyone's interested, whether you're military or not, if you want to have credits evaluated, like I said, we can get that back to you within 24 hours. Definitely reach out to me. I'll let you know exactly what we need, and we can go from there.
Awesome. So you're saying that if you're military and you speak another language fluently, you're doing pretty good?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Cheri, as always, it was awesome seeing you. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, and I hope all the moms have a great day.
Me too. Bye.